so it's a bit easier to navigate. But I hope this is helpful whether you live in London or are planning on visiting, or you just want to listen to a whisper ramble. So first up are the bars. So number one is Cahoots. Now Cahoots is a 1920s, I believe, themed underground bar. It's like an old ticket hall or underground station, and it's very much like stepping back in time. And it's also home to some of my favourite cocktails. A lot of the cocktails are named after famous British people, including Winston Churchill and Vera Lynn. But great vibes down there. Next up is Gordon's Wine Bar, which has loads of outdoor seating with heaters, and you can pretty much get every wine under the sun, as well as my go-to, which is port. So you can get ruby port, tawny port, white port, and what I couldn't believe was how much they fill the glasses. Even I can't drink this much port, as much as I love it. Next up we have the Milk Float, which is a canal boat or barge on the canal of Hackney Wick, and you can sit on the top and enjoy your drinks, and they do lots of frozen or sorbet cocktails, my favourite being the Mango Mutiny, which I think is rum and mango sorbet, if I could be wrong. And then finally there's the Chocolate Cocktail Club, which, as the name suggests, serves chocolate cocktails. So you can get a chocolate martini. I think there's some strawberry and white chocolate cocktails, there's some chocolate orange cocktails, some Ferrero Rocher cocktails, you name it. So that's right up my street. So moving on to the markets. So first up we have Broadway Market, which you can walk through Victoria Park or down the canal to. And I love the churros here because they're filled churros. So normally you get churros and they drizzle a measly amount of sauce on them, but with these they fill the whole middle of the churro with either caramel or chocolate, so you get a good sauce to churro ratio. And then next up we have Camden Market, which is on the lock and amongst a lot of stalls and shops. And I love Yorkshire burrito here, which is a giant Yorkshire pudding filled with your choice of meat. So you can get chicken, or I'm not sure which ones they do, maybe beef, and veggies and roast potatoes and gravy. Sometimes you can add cheese, and then they wrap it up like a burrito. So it's like a roast dinner on the go. And then next up we have Duck Pond Market, which is in Richmond. It's quite a small one, but I love the courts in Victoria Park online for quite cheap. I think it's maybe £4 an hour. So if you get a sunny day, that's always a good shout. And then next up is Hampstead Heath. I love Hampstead Heath because it's just seeing how the 1% live, or maybe even the 0.1%. You can walk past John Keats' house and up the hill and into the heath and through the Lidos and watch the men's pond and the women's pond that I've never been brave enough to swim in, and all the doggos, as well as that skyline at the top. And then next is kayaking. So we did this in Hackney Wick and kayaked up and down the canal, and you could stop at a few different places on the canal to grab a drink through the hatches of the boats that serve drinks. So that was really fun, but kayaking is hard work. I don't have much bicep and tricep strength, so I did very little. I was more the passenger. And then next we have paddleboarding, and we did this on the River Thames in Richmond, and a lot harder than it looks. Very easy to nearly fall in, but good fun nonetheless. And then next we love a picnic in Victoria Park or Olympic Park. Those are the ones closest to us, but there are many parks in London, but I think Victoria Park is the best, but maybe I'm biased. So then moving on to indoor. So first up we have Draughts, which was in Waterloo, and it's basically where you can get drinks and even food, I think, whilst you play board games or any kind of game that you want. So we played lots of card games I'd never played before, and Clusters, which is a magnetic game, as well as Connect 4 and Guess Who. So we are very much beginners, but there were people there playing Scrabble and Warhammer and Catan. I hate Catan, just because my family played it one Christmas and it completely ruined Christmas. But yeah. So then next we have Fairgame, which is in Canary Wharf, and this was so fun. I don't know anywhere else like this actually, but the premise is you are in a team, so whether there's 2 of you or 10 of you, and you get registered like virtually all together, and you all have a card, and then you each have to play the 12 sets of games, and then at the end you see who's the top of the leaderboard and who's the bottom of the leaderboard. And the games included like basically fair games, so basketball, horse racing, whack-a-mole, bowls, stuff with clowns and water guns, latest James Bond film there, but it's essentially an old-fashioned cinema with really comfy seats, really cosy interior, and a bar with traditional drinks and snacks. And what was funny about this visit was I sat down whilst my boyfriend went to go get us some drinks and snacks, and suddenly my phone was going off and he was messaging me, telling me to look behind me, and I was like, what? I don't understand. And it took me a while, and then I realised that David and Victoria Beckham were sat behind me in their sunglasses. But because they snuck in just as the film was starting and snuck out just before the film ended, I don't think many other people realised that they were in there. So that was quite funny. Next is Piano Works. Again, there's a couple of these in London, but we went to the one in Leicester Square, and this is basically where you can request songs, a bit like a jukebox, except it's a piano player with a live band, and it's such good fun. Especially a lot of my songs got picked. I'm trying to remember what they were now, but I remember Teenage Dirtbag getting played, and a lot of old school ones getting played as well. And then next is one of my all-time favourite things to do, Ronnie Scotts Jazz Bar, which is in Soho, and this is quite famous and world-renowned. I've been only twice, I think, and we saw the same lady both times, Vanessa Hayes. She's our favourite, and it's just such a kind of bougie but romantic thing to do in the dim lighting and the jazz band and the jazz singer, and you can drink and eat there too. So that's definitely up there. And then finally is Sky Garden, which is at the top of the Walkie Talkie building in the City of London, and you get a 360 view, and you can walk around the whole of the top, and it's kind of like a conservatory or a greenhouse. There's plants and trees up there, but because of this, basically whatever is happening outside is happening inside. So if you go in summer, it's going to be really humid, but if you go in winter, it's going to be freezing. But they have blankets and things around. But this is a great spot to see the fireworks on Bonfire Night. And then on to the seasonal things, so it would depend what time of year you were in London for these. But first up is going to a concert. So obviously it depends who's touring, but we went to Harry Styles at Wembley, and that was amazing, especially the final song, which was Sign of the Times with the fireworks. And then next up is going to a Premier League football game. For me, I'm an Arsenal fan, so that means going to the Emirates, but whichever team you support or that you want to see. And then next is going to a festival. We went to Jungle at All Points East, which was an interesting